5, only on KHOU 11.
KHOU 11 Morning News starts now.
Thanks for joining us on this Sunday morning. I'm Ron Trevino along with Sherman Chow.
Yeah, we've got team weather and traffic coverage all day long to get you prepared for what's to come. Cheetah Craft, Kim Castro, and Jennifer Reyna joining us. So, Kim Castro, let's start with you. Big question for folks wrapping up their weekend. What do they know now?
Well, here's the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. Their 10 a.m. advisory shows Beryl still a tropical storm. However, some key components I'm looking at, it's increasing its wind speed. It's slowing its forward motion, which means it's picking up more of that warm Gulf water and intensifying. You could see it's barely about to get its eye here, so it's starting to wrap around again. It is expected to intensify into a Category 1 hurricane before making its Texas coastline landfall. And notice, it keeps that Category 1 strength as it pushes inland. That's going to be a key component that we track as Beryl moves through our area. Hour by hour forecast on your Sunday. You can still make preparations for a couple of hours until 10 o'clock, I'd say. Beyond that, you want to start shifting gears from preparations to protection. You want to be in the spot where you're going to ride out the storm. Here's Future Track, 10 o'clock. We'll start to see those bands moving in, heavy downpours throughout the overnight into the morning. That's a snapshot at 7 o'clock. Heavy downpours throughout all of southeast Texas. We're basically blanketed by these tropical storms that continue until about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The rain alone has us under a flood watch. I'll be concerned with flash flooding if we see rainfall rates at 2 inches per hour, 3 inches per hour. This is about a 12-hour event, so just think about some of the spots that could be heavily hit repeatedly. We'll be watching flooded roadways. Not only that, though, Cheetah, with this storm system expected to maintain its hurricane strength, we're watching the wind too.
Yeah, we are. There's a lot of components with Beryl, and I noticed with that flood watch, they've extended that even through Liberty County now. But you're right. Let me focus on the winds, okay? So with Beryl expected to make landfall early tomorrow morning, I'm going to take you with our winds late this evening, 8:30 tonight. Now, look, we're looking at winds around 15 to maybe upwards of 25 miles per hour, so breezy. But getting you into the overnight hours, pausing our future track with our winds at 2:30 in the morning. I mean, take a look. Sugar Land at 38 mile per hour winds, 56 there in Wharton. Notice 74 in Bay City. Remember that landfall. Kind of think around 4 a.m. Somewhere between 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. is when we're expecting this to make landfall. Getting to 9:30 though, and what concerns me is when you see Sugar Land at that peak wind gust around 74 miles per hour, that's saying, hey, not only tropical storm force, but potentially hurricane force winds this far inland. And this is what we have to watch. Remember the heavy rain, the very strong wind gusts, storm surge, and the tornado threat. So all of that is coming into play. Now, current winds right now, okay, anywhere from 5 to 15 miles per hour. So again, breezy at times. Now, this is a live look at the radar, and you can see we are starting to see that tight center of circulation where that eye wall is starting to come together. So these outer bands are already impacting our coastal areas. So right now, we are going to expand our team coverage. Our Katira Winfrey joins us live from Galveston. Now, Katira, what are you seeing right now there?
Well, Cheetah, you were talking about just how high those wind speeds are. It's very obvious just by looking at me that, yes, the wind is very high here in Galveston, and you can see the water behind me. It's really choppy. From my understanding, it is a red flag warning right now. You do see a few people walking along the beach here, but there is no one, at least in my eyesight, that is in the water right now. Earlier, we saw someone kind of diving into a wave, but then the rain started coming down and everybody kind of dispersed really quickly. And so now we're starting to see a few people coming back on the seawall here and there. A family just got out with their kids. A guy's going to be riding by me on a bike in just a moment. But overall, it's been really calm here. Not a lot of foot traffic, not a lot of activity out here on the beachfront, but very windy, and the water very much rough and choppy. Oh, and lastly, about 15 minutes ago, we saw them remove another one of the lifeguard stands from the beach. We've been seeing those removed constantly throughout the day, riding right in front of us down the road. So they're getting those out of the way for those high tides that they expect when Beryl makes landfall.
Yeah, Katira, your live shot really shows the best. We can tell the winds are really strong. You said, people, there's not as much people as you would maybe typically see after a holiday on a weekend. My question is, we've been talking about the rip currents, the winds, the storm surge, and you said maybe you saw those flags that was a good indication for people at the beach to say, heads up, winds are strong and rip currents will be a threat. Have you seen those flags on the beach?
I haven't seen the flags because they've removed the lifeguard stands, but I got online to check what the flag warning said, and it said current red flag. And earlier today, I did see a lifeguard here on the shore kind of blowing his whistle, kind of shooing people out of the water and keeping watch. So we don't see the flags actually posted because there aren't any lifeguard stands still up here due to the impending concern with the water rising. But I do know that it is a red flag warning. And if you know anything about beaches, looking at this water, you can see why.
Thank you so much for your live shot. And yeah, we're going to see those wave heights pick up. We're going to see the storm surge really impacted, especially overnight into tomorrow. Thank you so much, Katira Winfrey. And Galveston is not the only area preparing for Beryl. Corpus Christi is one community expecting the brunt of the storm. That's where we find Molly McCollum there with the Weather Channel live right now. Molly, I'm looking at the radar and I've seen a few passing showers, but what are you seeing live right now?
Good morning, Cheetah. Yeah, we've had a few passing showers. It hasn't even been enough for me to put on my raincoat so far this morning, but we're also hearing some of those distant rumbles of thunder from those far outer bands of Beryl, still about over 100 miles away from Corpus Christi as it moves just to our north and to our northeast. So we're going to be seeing the outer bands and out of those throughout the day. I will say the water still here is very calm. It has been since we arrived 2 days ago. It's almost like a sheet of perfect glass. Now, we know that's going to change as the wind picks up, but I will say that the forecast here in Corpus Christi, people aren't quite yet getting that sigh of relief, but it's definitely less stressful than yesterday because as the forecast improves here in Corpus Christi for less impacts, of course we know, Cheetah, it's going to be worse for areas like you in Houston and parts of Galveston, Matagorda Bay, Galveston Bay, all those areas that are so vulnerable to storm surge.
You know what, Molly, you're exactly right. That forecast really did shift eastward. You're talking about the residents and the preparedness. What have you noticed? As you've talked to people who are living there, what are they feeling right now? What have you heard from them?
So, Cheetah, I was actually here 2.5, almost 3 weeks ago for Tropical Storm Alberto, which we were 400 miles away from the center of that storm, but saw some of the worst impacts in the Corpus Christi area. So I don't want to call that a test run for the beginning of the tropical system, but it kind of was for the Corpus Christi area. Now they're preparing once again for, the potential impacts of surge. Here in Corpus Christi, we've got a seawall that's about 14 feet above sea level that protects downtown Corpus Christi, but you go over the Harbor Bridge over into the North Beach area, a popular vacation spot. In fact, that beach was packed yesterday, and the elevation there is only 2 to 6 feet. There's no seawall to protect them. And I mentioned Tropical Storm Alberto. They peaked out at 3.5 feet of storm surge. And so certainly in that area where they're so vulnerable, they are paying so close attention to the forecast and any rise that might cause them any flooding in that area.
You're exactly right, Molly McCollum. Thank you. Live from Corpus this morning. Guys, just like she was saying, Alberto, well, it was kind of our precursor, and that's what we're watching even in Galveston. Some of our storm surge heights could be between 2 to 4, maybe even upwards of 5 feet. So we will be watching for her live reports. Stay safe out there. Ron and Sherman, back to you.
All right, thanks. Yeah, what's good for Corpus may be less good for us. We will see. All right, thank you, Cheetah. Beryl already closing some colleges tomorrow. That list includes Alvin Community College, Brazosport College, San Jacinto Community College, the University of Houston Victoria, and Wharton County Junior College. And local school districts. Those include Cleveland, Crosby, Dickinson, Hitchcock, and Waller so far. For those of you taking summer school, we've got a full list of school closures at KHOU.com.
All right, the time is now 11:09 this morning. The Trinity River Authority says repairs to the Lake Livingston Dam will be complete by tomorrow. The spillway was damaged in recent storms. This video from Friday shows Crews on the scene working on repairs. Officials are saying the dam will be able to handle larger amounts of water by tomorrow with no threat to its integrity. Now is the time to make sure you have the free KHOU 11 mobile app. Just scan the QR code right there on your screen. Turn on notifications so we can get the latest alerts to you.
All right, Kim Castro joining us now again, and you also had that late update about an hour ago from the National Hurricane Center. What can you tell us?
Yeah, and that update really has shifted our priorities as far as what are our risks when it comes to Beryl. With it sustaining its Category 1 strength as it pushes inland, hurricane force wind is going to be a big threat that we monitor. In addition to that, that push of wind along the coastline, coastal flooding, and the flooding from the rain itself. And we can't rule out some tornadoes too. With the friction of Beryl pushing inland, the curvature could spin up some of those twisters. Right now, tropical alerts look like this: a tropical storm warning for Harris County, for all of southeast Texas, closer to the coast. That warning is a hurricane warning, 40 to 80 mile an hour wind gusts. And again, it's because as Beryl tracks through here, it still maintains its Category 1 hurricane strength. Look at these impressive future track wind gusts that are expected 74 miles an hour in Sugar Land. That's hurricane force, and that is pretty far inland along the I-10 corridor. So that could be something that knocks down power, knocks down large trees, and has significant consequences on top of the heavy rain that will be moving along with it. For the coastline, there's also a storm surge warning threat. So flooding for the coast is going to be an imminent threat with 3 to 5 feet of a storm surge expected for Galveston. That means low-lying businesses and homes can expect to see water rise very quickly. Factor the rain bands of Beryl itself throughout a 12-hour period. These bands start to move in with a lot of juice starting at 1 o'clock in the morning overnight. And look, they don't let up until about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. So that's a prolonged period of time of repeated heavy downpours, at least 4 to 6 inches at this point expected. And like I mentioned, with Beryl making a twisting motion as it pushes into southeast Texas, as we see with hurricanes making landfall, there's a tornado threat. It's at 5% right now. This is just north of Harris County, so Montgomery all the way down into the coastline. A lot of different impacts that we're going to be watching, which is why we're advising for you to be inside your home in a safe space beginning at 10 o'clock tonight and all day tomorrow, Jen.
Yeah, wherever you're sleeping tonight, I mean, you might as well just plan on staying there, because that's exactly what we're going to advise. Drive only if necessary. We do want you to avoid roads that you can't see, so just assume that they are flooded. We are going to look for roads or bridges that are impacted. We are going to look for downed trees, down power lines. We're going to look for signals that are either out or flashing. So if you don't have to be out there, these are multiple reasons why, and we've been recently through these kind of conditions, so we know better, right? Okay, other than that, right now what's happening, we have a lot of green on our map, and if you do plan on heading out to get some last minute errands, just a heads up, 288, you already see heavy conditions right at Highway 6 in the Manville area. Alvin, you're in the clear as of right at this second. Looking at 87, leaving Crystal Beach, anybody headed eastbound out of the Galveston area, straight up the Gulf Freeway as well, we're seeing heavy conditions as you drive back into town. I know a lot of folks were in the Galveston Bay for the 4th of July celebrations. So you can see we have inbound delays here at Broadway. This is partially due to an earlier problem that did clear at the 45-610 interchange. By the way, I did put that on my Twitter account as well. And coming up, preparing for heavy rains in just 2 minutes. I'll explain what you need to know before you hit the roads tomorrow. See.
Here's the latest update from the National Hurricane Center on Beryl. Still a tropical storm, but you'll notice the eye starting to redevelop. As we get updates throughout the day, we are expecting Beryl to soon become a hurricane again. Notice the track of the storm puts the landfall in Matagorda, meaning Houston is on the dirty side, the east side, an area that is expecting to receive a lot of rain. Heavy rain impacts could lead to some rapidly rising water. High water spots are something that Jen Reyna is going to be tracking all morning long tomorrow.
Exactly, Kim. Right now, we really want to prepare drivers who may not be able to stay off of the roads tomorrow morning. We are expecting to see a lot of rain, so if you can, stay off the roads completely. Please stay put. If not, please remember, if you can't see the road, then do not drive on it. It's important to remember that just 6 inches of water can cause you to lose control or even stall out. And then when the water gets deeper, it only becomes more dangerous. Just 1 foot of water can cause your car to float. And then when the water gets even deeper, it only becomes more dangerous than that. And just 1 foot, like I said, can cause your car to completely float there, but 2 feet is even worse, of course. We will be reporting high water spots and we'll be watching for roads and bridges that are compromised. Drivers, be aware of water splashing from vehicles that are higher, and you'll also want to watch for hydroplaning. We will want you to drive much slower than normal, and it is likely that you will see other drivers with their flashers on. I'll have you covered with everything you need to know on the roads tomorrow morning. We'll be right back.
It is 11:19 and welcome back to KHOU 11 News this morning. We've got a live look over Galveston as we continue to monitor Beryl in the Gulf. And we just got word in that HCC, Houston Community College, is closing all 14 of its campuses tomorrow because of the impending weather. And we do, though, still have time to complete final preparations around the house in advance of the storm.
That includes your insurance policies. Doug Shoup with AAA Texas is joining us live this morning. And Doug, what do people need to check when it comes to their insurance policies, home and auto?
Yeah, it's a good idea to call your insurance provider to make sure that you have adequate coverage. Now, if you do not have flood insurance for your home at this point, unfortunately, it is too late to get that for this storm. But it's a good idea to call your insurance provider to also talk about your auto insurance policy and be sure that you have the comprehensive coverage. That is optional, but that would cover damage to vehicles caused by flooding or perhaps even a tree falling over onto the vehicle. So just call your insurance provider, make sure you have adequate coverage. If you do not, of course, we're very early in this hurricane season, so you may want to get that additional coverage to be sure that you're protected in the future. Also, today's a really good time to go and do an inventory of your home. You know, take your cell phone camera or a video camera and just video or take photos of everything that you have in your home, because you want to be able to document that for your insurance provider should you need to file a claim.
Okay, and what should folks be doing when it comes to important items like their paperwork inside their house?
Yes, great question. You know, it's a good idea to get one of those portable, waterproof containers, a storage container. Put things like your insurance policy, your marriage certificate, birth certificates, all important documents in that portable waterproof container. It's just something to have, especially for those folks who live in the coastal areas or areas that are very prone to flooding.
All right, good information. Doug Shoup with AAA Texas. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, let's get back to.
Stay safe.
All right, thank you so much again. All right, let's get back to Cheetah, the very latest with Beryl now. Cheetah.
Hey, good morning. Well, the latest update from the National Hurricane Center still has Beryl as a tropical storm, but I can show you on satellite and radar. Notice how we are starting to get that better defined eye, and it's really starting to come together. With that being said, the outermost bands are impacting us right now. So today is a weather impact alert day. Take a look at the line of thunderstorms and all of the lightning. Now, this is going to be enough to saturate the ground starting today, but then remember when the rain ramps up overnight and for tomorrow morning, that's when high water and flash flooding will be a major concern. So most of this really just moving right along the Gulf Freeway. So this just moves out of the Gulf. Remember those tropical downpours, and then continues to spread inland. So Beach City, LaPorte, these are areas from Seabrook to Kemah. So that's why I'm going to use our neighborhood weather network, zoom into the Galveston County area. And notice you can see near Waterford Oak Lane, almost an inch of rain. Harbor Lane received over an inch of rain. These are rain accumulations just today. Take it to Galveston, and some of the different streets here are showing anywhere from, 0.13 of an inch, tenth of an inch there. But overall, our live flood gauges are showing there are no areas that are as of concern. We are partners with the Harris County Flood Control District, and so green means good. We will be monitoring those and all of our reservoirs, the bayous, and the creeks very carefully overnight and through the day tomorrow. Let's get into that. Future tracks, 7 o'clock this evening. Notice we're still continuing to track showers and thunderstorms. We could pick up a half to an inch and a half of rain like we already have in some spots already today. Getting into tomorrow, 5 a.m. Notice Beryl has already made landfall. We're expecting landfall somewhere between that 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock, I would think of in Matagorda. But this is the thing, it holds together. May continue to be a Category 1 hurricane, even inland. And that's where we could pick up not only tropical storm force winds, but even hurricane force winds. So I'll bring in meteorologist Kim Castro. I've been focusing a lot on the heavy rain potential and that potential for flash flooding, but there are so many components with Beryl. Break down the others, Kim.
Yeah, Cheetah. With a hurricane, these are all of the risks that are on the table. Damaging winds, threats for tornadoes, storm surge, and flooding. And it really depends on which side of the storm that'll dictate how high your risks are. We know this. We hear, meteorologists say this all the time. We say it all the time. Towards the right side, the dirty side of the storm, the threats go up exponentially. And I want to show you this because the forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center puts a landfall somewhere near Matagorda, and guess who's on the right side of that? The dirty side, Harris County. This is why we need to pay really close attention to Beryl as it comes through here and making sure we're taking the necessary precautions to prepare ourselves and protect ourselves when the time comes. Right now, the area is highlighted in orange under a tropical storm warning, and then the area is in red under a hurricane warning. Again, because this is expected to maintain its hurricane strength through the landfall, like Cheetah was showing. What kind of wind gusts can we expect? Hurricane force wind gusts. Look at that snapshot at 9:30 Sugarland. 74-mile-an-hour wind gusts expected as Beryl churns through southeast Texas. And some of these winds could spin up tornadoes, which is why the Storm Prediction Center has us highlighted for a tornado threat. Notice a timestamp here, Sunday. So that tornado threat begins late tonight and it continues through our day on Monday. A lot of risks to keep track of, Jen.
All right. Yes, I know, Kim. It's certainly something else. And we will be here for you, of course, on social media and live on the air so that you and your family stay informed. All I can say is stay put. If you hear it really rumble and you tune in and you see all of the red on our map, you should just stay where you are. Right now, current conditions, we're seeing heavy rain right now at Long Point, Sienna, all the way from Highway 6 Fort Bend out to 288 in Manville. We scoot it to the east and it's just as bad around Anahuac, all the way out to Winnie. So anybody traveling on I-10 headed east or westbound between the stretch from basically Mont Bellevue out to Winnie and further points east as you make your way toward Beaumont, it's going to be just a lot of dark clouds, as you can see here with our John Martin camera, one of our furthest east cameras. You can see traffic isn't heavy here, but it will force you to slow down. That type of rain that comes down is definitely something else. Okay, this is what it looks like at 225 in Preston. I did want to show you some traffic trying to leave the island and come in from Galveston County. It's packed here at Broadway due to an earlier problem at 45 and 610. And this is what it looks like as drivers try to leave Galveston and head toward Houston. Busy at the Causeway Bridge. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to KHOU 11 Morning News. The time is now 11:28. Here's a live look at Hobby Airport as the holiday weekend wraps up, and that means today thousands are expected to fly through Houston airports.
Yeah, including my kid. We'll be closely monitoring flight updates throughout the day and keep you updated both on air and online. So far, FlightAware's misery map shows about 100 delays at Bush and nearly 40 at Hobby, and we only expect those numbers to go up from here. Make sure you are checking with your airline before heading out to the airport.
And right now is a good time to review your family's hurricane plan. Get the KHOU 11 Hurricane Guide right now by scanning the QR code right there on your screen. We have checklists and maps of evacuation routes. The guide is available in English and Spanish.
Time now is 11:29. Coming up in just 2 minutes, finish your final preparations, the items that should top last-minute shopping lists.
KHOU 11 Morning News starts now.
Tracking Beryl right now, still a tropical storm bringing its outermost bands across the area. I'll have a live look of who's seeing rain right now.
Monitoring conditions in Galveston, we are live along the seawall with the very latest.
And we're counting down till Beryl hits the Texas coast. It's time to prepare. We've got you covered this morning. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday morning. I'm Ron Trevino here with Sherman Chow.
Yeah, and we are continuing to get you ready for Tropical Storm Beryl. We've got team coverage with Cheetah Craft and Kim Castro monitoring the weather, Jennifer Reyna watching the roads, along with our crews in the field in Galveston and Fort Bend counties. So let's start with meteorologist Cheetah Craft for the latest on the forecast.
Hey,
Cheetah.
good morning. Well, right now on the radar, you can start to see it's getting a lot more organized. Now, with that being said, it's still a tropical storm. I am expecting this to gradually intensify, though, as a Category 1 hurricane before it makes landfall early tomorrow. Outermost bands already bringing a surge of tropical thunderstorms across the area. Notice all the lightning associated with them, and they're basically moving south to north. So everybody tapping into this moisture, quickly moving right across the area. Now, let me get into this evening. We're still going to see the same type of activity that we are right now through the afternoon and evening tonight. So showers and thunderstorms across the board, but really everything starts to ramp up overnight and into early tomorrow morning. I pause our future track at 5 a.m. A couple things I want you to take note of. Notice the well-defined eye. So here's Beryl. We're expecting landfall potentially around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. It has shifted a little bit earlier than what I previously expected. So think more around 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., that 3:30 to 4 a.m. timeline. If this holds together and continues to move inland, we could see not only tropical storm force winds, but potentially even hurricane force winds inland. So winds and heavy rain are going to be a big factor early tomorrow morning. Take a look at that timestamp, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Now, putting this into motion, 10:30 through your lunchtime hour, I want you to keep in mind, we are not expecting Beryl to stall out. This moves, and it moves very quickly. In fact, by Monday afternoon, I'm going to bring in meteorologist Kim Castro. I mean, it is out of here, but we are going to be under a very serious threat pretty much this evening through about, I would say, early afternoon tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so what do we do right now? How do we prepare? Well, over the next couple of hours, we do have those outer bands that are moving in, but for the most part, you can still go fill up your gas tank. Think ahead of the game. If we lose power, what are you going to need? Where should you be by the time the heaviest bands get here? Well, you have until 10 o'clock to decide that, because beyond there, that's when we start to see widespread impacts across Southeast Texas. So I'll take you from 10 o'clock onwards. You'll notice heavy rain, there's the eye. 7 o'clock in the morning, downpours, the threat of gusty wind, the threat of isolated tornadoes. Everything is on the table when it comes to Beryl. I want to highlight these three predominant threats. Hurricane force wind. Now, this is not just along the coastline. Because Beryl is expected to maintain a Cat 1 strength, even as it pushes inland, we could see gusts in Harris County, in Fort Bend County, in Montgomery at 70 to 80 miles an hour. Along the coastline, the force of this wind and the waves stacking on top of themselves could lead to coastal flooding. So low-lying areas expecting to see flooding. And the torrential downpours that come from these tropical bands could lead to flash flooding inland as well. And then, of course, with hurricanes, we've got the threat for tornadoes. By the way, the threat for this begins tonight. So download the KHOU app. We'll send those alerts straight to your phone. Remember, beyond 10 o'clock, you really want to be inside, and you want to stay there really throughout the day tomorrow, Jen.
Yeah, I think some of these winds are going to force you to stay put. I mean, it's going to be pretty dangerous. So that's why we're asking if you don't have to drive in the duration that we've warned you about later on tonight into tomorrow, please hold off your commute altogether. Anybody who has to be on the roadways, please check in with us to see how bad it is, because we do want you to avoid flooded roads. You'll want to be watching out for downed trees or power lines or signal lights that are going to be malfunctioning. Flight delays, ground stops are likely. Let's talk about what's happening right now. You heard Cheetah and Kim both point out that the bands are already in our area. We're talking down here on 36 by Needville, throughout Long Point, Highway 6 around Sienna, Fresno. That's going to be right around the South Beltway and 288, where a dangerous pocket of rain is right now pouring in that area. Deer Park, it looks like on the southeast part. If you're waking up in Pasadena right now, it's coming down in your area all the way out toward Baytown, Mont Belvieu. This would be 99 at the East Freeway. Moss Bluff, you're getting heavy downpours right now as well. You can see with our Beltway camera on the east side of town at Fairmont, there are no crashes to tell you about on this side of town. It is sort of an easier Sunday, if you will, in that location, but still wanted to show you just how much of the rain bands are coming in and affecting things. East Freeway at John Martin, we showed that camera shot earlier. It was just nothing but gray skies, but now you can see our camera lens is wet. 225 at Preston still looks like it's going to be a wet one. And those of you in Galveston County trying to make your way back from a holiday weekend, northbound delays can be found on the Causeway. I'm also looking at stop-and-go conditions along Highway 87 down by Crystal Beach. So don't be surprised. You will not be alone as you try to travel and get back to business. Over to you.
Yeah, everybody's trying to get home now. Well, right now we're less than 24 hours away from when Beryl is expected to make landfall along the Texas coast.
Yeah, and several Texas counties have issued voluntary evacuation notices. That includes parts of Brazoria County and Matagorda County. Galveston County also issuing a voluntary evacuation notice for folks who live in areas not protected by the seawall. And that is where we find our Katira Winfrey. She has been live all morning long in Galveston, and it's been very windy. We've been watching your hair blow back and forth. Can you tell if the winds are stepping up at all?
I don't know if the winds have stepped up at all. It's been pretty consistent all morning. The wind has been crazy. The surf has been crazy. But we've seen a lot of people walking up and down the seawall, playing in the water. Some people took a break and now they're back out again. But I got a chance to speak with one couple who said no matter what comes, they plan to ride it all out.
Rough tide slamming into Galveston Beach's shores is one indication of what's to come. Tropical storm Beryl is heading toward the Texas coast, expected to drop massive amounts of rain.
We always have everything that we need in the house. We have plenty of canned foods and frozen foods.
Donna and Ronnie Hall traded the West Coast for the Gulf Coast, and Beryl isn't enough to send them running.
We've had two really pretty mild seasons. We were here 3 years ago when we had the 5 storms that come through, and that was interesting.
Ahead of an expected landfall Monday and high tide, lifeguard stands are being removed. The city of Galveston issued a voluntary evacuation notice for people living in the West End, not protected by a seawall.
The West End is, I think the elevation is like only about 3.5 feet, so yeah, they get inundated pretty easily.
Galveston County Judge Mark Henry announced a disaster declaration.
We're going to have rip currents that are pretty significant. We're going to have flooding, coastal flooding.
Adding that a team of experts are keeping watch, bracing for Beryl.
And again, a red flag warning is in place right now. Earlier, people were heeding that warning, but I'm looking around now and people are deep into the water again. But I do see a lifeguard walking over to a few people, so I'll wait and see if he asks them to get out of the water. But again, the red flag warning is in effect right now. For now, reporting live in Galveston, Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.
All right, Katira, thank you. And of course, there's still time to kind of stock up and prepare as Tropical Storm Beryl approaches.
Our eyes are on our western counties as they could be some of the strongest hit in the area. Maria Aguilera joins us live in Fort Bend County this morning. And Maria, how are people there getting ready?
Well, Ron and Sherman, I was going to talk to you about this line behind me with the gas, people pumping up gas in their cars, but it started raining on us. The clouds here quickly approached us, and then quickly it started raining and winds picking up. But also, folks here are getting ready for even more rain and stronger winds here. They're pumping gas, and lines are already forming right now. And the people that we've spoken with tell me that this is nothing new for them. Now, the Houston area is no stranger to major storms and hurricanes. Here, people are filling up their gas tanks, as I mentioned, getting their supplies at grocery stores. I spoke with some longtime residents of this area who say they are ready with their supplies and generators. They tell me when you've lived here for a while, you always prepare for these types of weather events, obviously hoping for the best.
I don't know if it's going to be as bad as they say, but it's better to be a little more prepared than underprepared. So just the things that the news is telling us.
I'm just hoping for some rain, just light rain, not that much wind, and then we'll be good.
If you don't feel ready, here are some of the important things you should have. Non-perishable food along with plenty of bottled water, a first aid kit with your medication, grab toiletries, of course, charge those cell phones with chargers on hand, pack a bag with clothes, shoes, and important documents. Don't forget to fill up your gas tanks and be sure to have cash on you as well. All of that information and more can be found on our website at the KHOU Hurricane Guide. Of course, officials urging everyone to make a plan, build a kit, and stay informed, which you can do with us all day today. For now, I'm going to toss it back to you, Sherman and Ron, and I'm going to go get dry.
All right, good luck. It is already wet out there. A reminder that the storm may also delay trash pickup tomorrow. This is a tweet from Texas City. Officials will make a decision on Monday's pickup by tonight at 6 p.m. Double check to be sure your service is still on schedule before putting out your trash cans. Remember, those cans can get tossed around in the strong winds.
Oh, yes, they can. All right, let's get back to Cheetah as Beryl continues to track toward the Texas coast.
It does. And, you know, anything you can do around your home to limit any debris moving around in your neighborhood, that's the thing to do. That's what the kind of preparations we're talking about, okay? So if you have anything that you think that some strong winds, think 40 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts could move around. Yeah, you want to try to tether those down, bring it inside if you can. But yeah, try to protect your own home and your neighborhood, of course. Hurricane force wind threat. I want to go over the risks and the impacts right now. So hurricane force wind threat, tropical storm force winds expected well inland now and even for our northern counties. Coastal and rain flooding. So we're talking storm surge and then just the amount of rain that we're going to pick up. That's over a very short period of time. We also have that tornado threat that begins tonight and continues throughout the day tomorrow. Latest track from the National Hurricane Center does have Tropical Storm Beryl intensifying as a Category 1 as it makes landfall potentially around 3:30 to 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. So the early morning hours on Monday remains a Category 1. And you know, you can see this timestamp from the National Hurricane Center. If this does hold together and remain as a Cat 1 inland, I think we're going to be dealing with those hurricane force winds inland, and that's really dangerous on top of those saturated grounds. So that's what we will be. Now it moves quickly though. Key takeaway with Beryl, by 7 p.m. Monday, it is way north of us, and it's going to take the wind and the rain along with it. But very dangerous, severe conditions expected late this evening, and I would say even through about midday tomorrow and potentially early afternoon. We have a strong line of thunderstorms moving through right now, so I'm going to bring in meteorologist Kim Castro. You know, this is the thing. We're already starting to feel the effects of Tropical Storm Beryl, and this is only going to intensify. Actually, I'm going to bring in Jen Reyna, help us out on the roadways. We've got heavy rain now.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Cheetah. We are looking at stop and go conditions already with those bands coming in. You can see it stretches from the South Beltway, west of 288 through the Hobby Airport area. Anybody coming up the Gulf Freeway, which that's a lot of people headed back into town from Galveston County, July 4th celebrations. They are going to run through traffic delays all the way from outside of the Beltway through 610. Eastsiders 225 all the way out to Baytown up through almost Barrett and Mont Bellevue. You see that line of storms that's already pushing into our area. This is 69 at Westland. I did pull up some different camera shots than I showed you just about 10-15 minutes ago, so you could see how it's looking across town. The rain is already forcing some of the drivers to ease up on their accelerator. This is the Gulf Freeway at Astoria. This is right near the South Beltway as you see that long line of traffic. Southeast part of the Beltway here at Fairmont. If you're waking up in Pasadena, you heard the rumbles come through your area just moments ago. And here are current drive times as anybody is headed into town. But one of the longest out of Clear Lake, looking at an hour just to get to downtown.
Right now, we're tracking what was a deadly night on the roads.
4 people killed in 4 different crashes. The first just after 8:30 last night. Police say a driver ran a red light on the East Tex Freeway and struck another car. That motorist died at the scene. Investigators believe the at-fault driver was intoxicated and is in custody.
Then on the Grand Parkway in Montgomery County, we're told a Jeep went off the road near the Wilderness Drive overpass. It happened around 1 o'clock this morning. Officials tell us a man was thrown from the car and died at the scene. A female passenger was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. DPS is still investigating what led up to the crash.
Then about 45 minutes later on the Katy Freeway near Memorial Brook, police say a blue Mustang lost control before flipping and catching fire. The driver was trapped inside that burning vehicle and died at the scene.
And the last one we're following this morning happened around 1:45 on Atascocita Road near Painted Cliffs Trail. Details are limited, but we do know at least one person died. Right now, we're working to learn more about what led up to that crash.
And as we learn more about those wrecks, we will, of course, keep you updated on air and online.
All right, for now, the time is 11:49. We have another check on the forecast in just 2 minutes. Don't go away.
The time is now 11:51.
We're tracking Beryl. Let's get back to Cheetah with the latest now.
Yes, we are. Still a tropical storm expected to gain intensification here over about the next 12 hours before it makes landfall early tomorrow morning. However, right now on the radar, it is very active. We have a line of thunderstorms, so you may be hearing some thunder right now if you're in Sugar Land, Fort Bend County, Needville, Richmond area. You have some really heavy rain now draped across the loop right along the Beltway. It is pouring, and if you're in West Bel Air, the Med Center, I-10 eastbound into Channelview, it is pouring. So you see that red on our radar, lightning as well. So we are already starting to feel the effects of Beryl. That's why today we are under a weather impact alert day. 7:30 this evening, we're still tracking basically kind of what we're seeing right now, showers and thunderstorms through the afternoon and evening. Getting into our overnight hours and early tomorrow morning, I want you to take note of 5:30. Already, Beryl is starting to move northward, but notice it is holding its strength, potentially a Cat 1, even as it moves inland. So we're talking about a strong hurricane making landfall around 3:30, 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. Cat 1, potentially Cat 2, then continues to move northward fast. I mean, by 10:30 tomorrow morning, notice how a big chunk of the energy is starting to lift north of I-10. So this is not expected to sit and stall, but it is going to be powerful as it makes landfall and continues to disrupt your morning tomorrow morning. Now is the time to make all the preparations you need to. This is out of here by tomorrow afternoon and evening, and it really clears out for Tuesday. But yeah, Kim, I'm going to bring you on in. We have a lot of impacts to talk about, not only the rain, the wind, storm surge, and of course the tornado threat.
You're tracking those powerful rain bands. I'm tracking an equally powerful wind field. So this is a look at how many spots could see at least tropical storm force winds up to hurricane force winds. You'll notice that field is over southeast Texas. In fact, 100% likelihood, so a big chance of seeing some sort of at least tropical storm impacts through Harris County, at least the western side of it, Waller, Washington, Colorado, Wharton, Matagorda, Brazoria. Let's get more specific as to how strong these winds could gust. I think throughout the day, you'll notice a breeze out there along with these tropical downpours, 20, maybe 30 miles an hour, breezier along the coastline. That ramps up as we head into the overnight hours. Now, 56-mile-an-hour wind gusts for Galveston on our future track radar. Notice the eye right there, so Beryl pushing in, making its landfall sometime between maybe 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning. As it continues to push in, it's still maintaining its strength. That's what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting, and that means we could see hurricane force wind gusts even as far north as the I-10 corridor, which is why, Jen, I don't want to see anybody along the I-10 corridor tomorrow morning.
I know, I don't either. I want to see it like a ghost town. That's for sure what we're going to advise, that everybody stay put from tonight in the evening, wherever you sleep, wherever you hunker down, just plan on just sleeping it out. And tomorrow afternoon, when everything's gone and past us, then we can resume our regular business. Did want to zoom out our traffic maps so you can get a glimpse of what's happening right now, but already seeing those bands affect us from Needville, and you can just see the line that's perfectly looking like a diagonal there up through Mont Bellevue and now through Liberty. So 90 on the northeast side is definitely seeing a lot of the rain showers. 225 I-10 around Cloverleaf. I'll leave you with this live look of the Southwest Freeway at Westland, where we are going to advise that traffic finishes up their business today and gets it done before we advise that you stay off of the roads for tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us this morning. Stay safe.